We're getting started today at noon with breaking news. New video just into our newsroom.
Yeah, Honolulu police are out in Ewa Beach investigating a deadly shooting. Now, this happened in the Palm Villas complex on Pu'amaiole Street around 8:30 this morning. And just minutes ago, police wrapped up a briefing on the deadly shooting with the latest details. We have learned that the victim is one of the resident managers there. He was a 57-year-old man. They say he and the suspect were arguing in the parking lot when the gun was fired. Witnesses said they heard at least 3 to 4 gunshots pop off, and the suspect has not yet been found. They say he fled in an unknown direction in a vehicle. Now, authorities say it does not appear the shooting was a random act. Again, they were arguing in the parking lot, though they don't know exactly what about. Authorities are searching for the suspect, who is described as a Caucasian man between 40 and 50 years old. He was last seen wearing a jacket and fled in a white or gray sedan. The victim has not yet been publicly identified, and our crew is at the scene gathering more information, and we'll bring you the latest on air and online here on HawaiiNewsNow.com.
Yeah, let's move on to the other big story today, that ongoing eruption.
Yes, scientists with the Hawaii Volcano Observatory say the lava flow from Mauna Loa is now moving at a slower pace as it moves into some flat area land.
If it continues at the rate it is flowing right now, officials say it could take at least 1 week until the flow reaches Saddle Road, the key thoroughfare that connects Hilo and Kona.
I think we understand the importance of what DKI, Daniel K. Inouye Highway, became, as we've seen that the amount of traffic that goes east to west on it, or vice versa. It's the dominant road, both for commercial, private, everybody uses it.
At today's news conference held just hours ago, officials said the lava flow is about 3.3 miles from the highway and is moving about 30 to 40 yards per hour.
We expect from here on in for the movement of this flow to become somewhat sporadic as it goes across the flat ground. It will inflate, incoming lava will be stored in it, and then it will probably come out in lobes at different times. So sometimes it might appear to be moving faster and sometimes appear to be not moving at all.
HVO scientist in charge, Ken Hahn, also had this new development.
There is also another lobe of the flow that is coming down to the east of the main lobe. So this lobe is coming down from vent 4, from fissure 4. And the main lobe is being fed by fissure 3. The activities at both of those fissures seem about equal to what they were yesterday. The fissure 3 being the dominant fissure, producing most of the lava. Fissure 4 is producing less, but it's enough to sustain a flow. That flow has come down and crossed the upper part of the Mauna Loa Observatory road last night. So that was already crossed twice by the fissure 3 flow.
And here's what Hawaii County Mayor Mitch Roth had to say during an interview on Sunrise today.
And it has really slowed down quite considerably. So the latest I heard is the most likely, if it does hit, it will be over a week. So that's really good. If it continues at the rate that it's flowing right now, we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, so Mayor, if and when this does happen, and of course we're hoping for the best, but if it were to cross the highway, how big of an impact would that be for residents across the island?
You know, for some residents, it's going to be a huge impact. For some, it's really not going to be. But for businesses and for the county, there are some big impacts for us. We have our bus routes, we have our solid waste that will have to go around the island, and that may impact the ability for us to keep our landfills and places where people drop off their trash on the Big Island open. So we have some concerns. Our trucking and consumer goods, they all use the Saddle Road, so it may have some impacts on them.
Continuing our team coverage right here on This Is Now, our Mark Carpenter joining us now from the Big Island. Mark, you had a chance of the lifetime last night taking a special tour. What'd you see?
Jonathan, good morning. Welcome to beautiful Hilo Town, where the elements are always in play. Just moments ago, we had a drizzle coming through, but we have people lining up here at the Liliuokalani Garden just hoping to get a glimpse of that majestic red-orange glow of the Mauna Loa eruption. And last night, we really had the opportunity of a lifetime, courtesy of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. We had a chance to go to 4 to 5 miles past the Mauna Loa access road and really get up close to the eruption and the flow as it was coming down the mountain. And one of the reasons we are able to get so close is because of the fact that it has slowed down considerably. So as it spreads out over that flat terrain, it is moving slower, so you are able to see. We've got about 10 feet away, and I'll say this, you know, it is one thing to see it, and it is remarkable, and it is awe-inspiring, and there are not enough superlatives for it. But to hear that distinct sound of the new earth being created, it is something that really is something else and really is spectacular and dazzling. Let's give you a listen.
So, Mark, I can only imagine the amount of people out at midnight in Hilo Town. What are the crowds been like? What have they been saying to you? Who have you been talking to?
Jonathan, I'm glad you asked that because there are so many different factors in play to all of this, right? There's the safety aspect, what is happening with the eruption as it gets closer and closer to Saddle Road, that key road between Hilo and Kona. There's the eruption itself and the beauty and the majesty of it. And then there's also the amount of spectators that have come out for this. And one of the really cool scenes as we were on the Mauna Loa access road is looking back towards Saddle Road, and you have all the cars lining up. Yes, it is illegal to stop and park between mile markers 16 and 31, but that still didn't deter many from trying to get any glimpse they could of Mauna Loa and the spectacle that Madam Pele is putting on. And then also, too, in addition to the people stopping along Saddle Road, you look back at the Mauna Kea access road, about 9,000 feet elevation. That's about a mile, mile and a half up. You could see the headlights lining up around the mountain. So what you have is the orange-red glow, you have the headlights of everyone lining up, and then you have more people lining up across the way on Mauna Kea. This really is a scene that only the Big Island could deliver, Jonathan.
Let's talk more about that possibility of the cutoff of Saddle Road. What are people in the community saying about that? It's sort of scary.
You know, it is something that is very scary, and that is something that comes with the potential of having an eruption as it is moving down the mountain. We saw it start on, Thanksgiving weekend at late Sunday night, and already you see how it's gone down to the flat ground. So there is a level of concern, but talking with the people around the Big Island, both Hilo and Kona, there is a level of concern, but right now, it's not something that is overly dramatic and it's overly significant because they see how it's slowing down. And also, too, many people across the county just feel so well informed about the updates that we're getting. And also the USGS has done a terrific job of making sure that everybody is informed, staying up to date, keeping a 24/7 watch on the eruption. And so while there is some worry, right now a lot of people across the county, across the state, around the world are enjoying this. But yes, absolutely keeping a close eye on the potential for a Saddle Road crossing.
Mark Carpenter, gonna let you go. Thank you so much for your coverage out there. Now here's the update from Jessica Farrakane. She's with Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
That was the view this morning. Mauna Loa is pretty obscured with clouds. It was starting to clear, but then it looks kind of cloudy again. But what we're seeing from the park again on a clear day or night are both eruptions from Kilauea and Mauna Loa.
Hey guys, we're up here in the kitchen to try to give you a better example and visual aid to show you how the lava flow is slowing down. This plate is going to represent the downslope of the volcano and its terrain. This plate, the flat saddle area we keep referencing, the flat area of the volcano that the lava is currently going to. This dish soap is going to represent the lava. It's coming out of its fissure up here, flowing down that downslope. And watch what happens as it reaches that plane. You can see it's spreading out and slowing down on that flat surface. Add in the cooling factor, and here's how HVO scientist in charge Ken Han explained it.
It's going to slow down crossing this flat area, and what we'll see is the front of the lava flow, instead of being narrow channelized flow, has spread out to a very broad front. And so a lot of the lava is just accumulating on this flat plane, and it actually flattens out even more towards the highway from there.
Ken Han speaking there. We have much more coverage on your HNN digital platforms involving the eruption. We have a complete page built out there so you can see all sorts of videos and interviews as well. Moving on to the other big story, more on the tainted water crisis and that leak of toxic foam at Red Hill.
Yeah, right now emergency crews are continuing to clean up that mess. They are digging out contaminated soil from the Red Hill fuel area after an 1,100-gallon spill of that toxic foam concentrate. Our Mahealani Richardson has the latest.
Military leaders couldn't say exactly how long the spill was going on. It was spotted by a worker and contained an hour after firefighters arrived. The toxic solvents came from a supply line as maintenance was being conducted. An 1,100-gallon tank is now empty.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get a good night's sleep last night.
Board of Water Supply Chief Engineer Ernie Lau couldn't hold back his frustrations, responding to yesterday's spill at the Navy's Red Hill fuel facility of aqueous film forming foam, or AFFF, which is used to fight fuel fires. It's so hazardous, Honolulu Fire Department doesn't use it because of the dangers to the environment.
It almost felt like I heard a scream or cry of our aquifer, in our aquifer in that area, crying out to say that no more contamination. Don't put any more contamination into our precious Vi.
Both the military and Department of Health say the drinking water was not impacted by the chemicals. After last year's fuel leaks contaminated the Pearl Harbor drinking water system, the military now gets its water from Waiava.
This weighs on us. This is heavy, and we understand it. And we're going to get at it. And you have our commitment on that.
We wanted to give you an overview of the Red Hill Tank Facility. It sits right next to the Halawa Correctional Facility. Last year, there were 2 fuel spills. The first one happened in May around tank 18 and 20. Now, this is the Red Hill water shaft. And if you go up 1 mile Mauka, this is where yesterday's fire foam spill happened. It's in an area called Added 6.
We don't know why that was released. We also don't know why, if it was released, why that AFFF came out of what appears to be a vent on that line.
So I would hope the Navy would consider, no, I don't hope. I demand of the Navy, you need to move faster. The AFFF systems only exist because there's still petroleum stored there at Red Hill.
Right now, emergency crews are at Red Hill around the clock, digging out concrete and soil, and so far they've taken out 131 drums of contaminated dirt. Lau says the Board of Water Supply's Halawa shaft, Honolulu's biggest water source, has been shut down since last year to avoid sucking in fuel contamination. It's only 1 mile away, and this latest incident is not good in terms of when it could possibly reopen. Now, the military says operator error and the facility's age are all under investigation. The Department of Health called the spill egregious and is requiring that the Navy test for what's called PFAS, forever chemicals, in soil and groundwater. I'm Mahealani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much, Mahea. I should have mentioned she filed that story yesterday. The spill, of course, happened on Monday afternoon. A reminder, coming up in just a few minutes, about 15 minutes, a new special report, a special documentary our Mahealani Richardson has put together. Red Hill, 1 year later, it's going to air on your HNN digital platforms. We're going to stream it on our digital platforms as well, right here at HNN. Don't want to miss that. She's been working hard on her investigations there. All right, back out here live in the HNN Digital Center. Why don't we go to Washington, D.C., take a look at that sunset.
What
I had
a nice
to show
sky.
you this. Yeah,
Beautiful,
right? it looks like it's just lit up for the holidays. And then get this, it feels like the holidays on the mainland. 42 degrees right now in Washington, D.C. That compares to our 75 degrees right here on Oahu. We are giving you a first alert right now to some wave action on the way. Here's Billy V with more on that.
Real quickly here, I want to give you a look at the surf heights. By this afternoon, we're going to be at 15 to 20, so that's going to peak overnight going into tomorrow. 9 to 13 over on the west side, that was 6 to 8 this morning, and everything else is smaller than that. High surf advisories are in effect for the north and west facing shores of all Hawaiian islands, Niihau through Maui, except for Hawaii Island.
You've heard of shrinkflation and now possibly even greedflation, but here's a new one for you. What about tipflation? More and more shoppers are reporting seeing it in more unusual industries. Isabel Rosales joins us now with more on it. Isabel, thank you so much for joining us. Let's jump right into it. First off, what is it and where are we seeing it?
Hey, Dylan, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, this is a new word for me, too. And it turns out that tipflation has actually been creeping around since before the pandemic. But now, if you pay close attention, you'll see it pretty much everywhere that you look. And experts are warning that during this holiday shopping season, to be prepared, know what inflation is, tipflation is, and how to avoid it in order for it to not eat up at your holiday shopping budget. So when it comes to tipping, we already know you're supposed to do that. It's expected and customary to do that at restaurants and at bars. But now we're hearing reports of tips being asked of customers when it comes to online shopping, at fast food drive-thrus, at retail shops, and even at automatic car washes. This is not, Dylan, how tipping is supposed to go. Tipping was designed to help out the service industry, those people who make way below minimum wage. So how did we get here? I spoke with Professor Dipion Biswas, who's a professor of marketing and business over at the University of South Florida. He has studied tipping for 10 years, and he says that this really started with the boom of digital kiosks. So those iPads that they switch on you and ask for a tip, so things like Toast and Square, those really exploded in use. Then came the pandemic, and then came a 40-year high inflation. These things added fuel to the fire, and then businesses started to realize if they allowed tips, that was good for business in the sense that it kept their employees happier. They made more money and made the job more lucrative, and maybe they would stay. Problem is, Dylan, that it's not coming through higher salaries. It is coming through tips at the expense of you and me.
Yeah, we've all kind of faced that when you hand over your card and then there's the prompt in front of you. How much do you want to tip? 18, 20, even more sometimes. What are some experts saying on how you can avoid this guilt or the tipflation?
Dylan, I spoke with an expert called Mr. Manners. Best name ever, right? He's an etiquette expert, so it sticks. It's a good name for him. Thomas Farley, that's his legal name. And he says that his #1 tip to avoid tipping during this tipflation is to pay in cash. So if you don't have that digital interface, you're not going to be bombarded with all of these options of tipping, and you won't feel bad about it. But if you do have to go plastic, then there is a power in no. He says, don't feel guilty. Don't feel compelled to tip just because a screen is asking you to. Now, having said that, he does have this list of 3 jobs where he would tip without hesitation, and they are servers, bartenders, and washroom attendants. He does have a couple of exceptions, and he gave me an example, saying that if you have a corner deli that you always go to, and they know how to make your sandwich just right, they know your name, and they maybe put in a little bit of extra meat in there for you. That is a good relationship. That is a customized order. That is a moment where you do want to tip. Dylan.
Awesome tips right there. Last question for you. How can this tipflation actually hurt the people, like you mentioned, that we should be tipping?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it is easy to feel guilty. This is human nature. And Professor Biswas from USF, he told me that there's a bit of dark psychology at play here with these digital kiosks where they hide the option of no tip or the option of a lower tip percentage. So you have to carefully look through the menu options to find the one that correctly fits for you, whether that's no tip or maybe as low as 10%. But remember, tipping did used to be rarer. We weren't constantly bombarded by all these tipping requests. He worries about that. He worries about tipping exhaustion because consumers only have so much money to spend. And if they're giving tips here and over there, he worries that that will lead to people who need it the most. So servers, bartenders, washroom attendants, these people, again, making below minimum wage, that they won't get our tips. That concerns him gravely. And unfortunately, he thinks that tipflation is here to stay and it's only going to grow more widespread. Dylan.
Definitely something to keep an eye on this holiday season while out and about shopping. Isabel, thank you so much for joining us today on This Is Now.
All right, let's see what cyberspace is abuzz about right now today.
What are they talking about, Jonathan?
Oh, your favorite topic. Kittens. Yep.
Achoo. I'm allergic, guys.
What was that? Have you met Smells? Yep, a lot of people are talking about him. He was presented with a Thanksgiving spread back home after recently being rescued in that suitcase at TSA. Yeah, a traveler from Brooklyn heading to Orlando, we showed you the picture last week, unknowingly packed the cat into their checked luggage. Yes, that was a big scene. It was all over the internet. For some reason, I don't think I grabbed the picture today, but you know what I'm talking about. We saw
like
the
X-ray. Jumped in there on its own.
Yeah. It did. Yeah, it jumped in there on its own. It was discovered when an alarm went off in the baggage screening area of JFK. Agents then saw that clear outline of the animal. That's the picture that has gone viral, and everyone's talking about it still. It turns out Smells does not belong to that traveler, but another person in his household. The unharmed cat was returned home and was given this great spread, which I don't know. Do cats eat gravy? I'm sure they do.
Don't they eat anything?
Dogs
do. They're less picky than cats.
Some are picky, yeah. What'd you find?
Let's talk about something rather bizarre, but maybe not so much to some people. For those who like eggnog and carbonation, Pepsi is pushing a new campaign for people to pour milk in their soda, with actress Lindsay Lohan serving as a spokeswoman. Now, customers who want to take part in the fun and possible indigestion are encouraged to post their experiences with the hashtag Pilk and Cookies. There will be an online challenge with cash prizes to be announced on Christmas Day. This comes in the wake of the, quote, dirty soda challenge, another TikTok trend where people film themselves drinking soda with items like syrup and cream. People do anything these days. And a fun fact, Pepsi and milk was actually the favorite drink of Penny Marshall's character on the classic sitcom Laverne and Shirley.
Really?
So maybe not so unheard of after all, but why not, I guess?
You know what it sounds like to me?
What does
a
it sound
float. Just like a Coke float, right?
Yeah.
It's just going to taste like that when it melts, right?
Melted ice cream, yeah.
Other question I can't have. Calorie count. You can't be concerned with that.
Yeah.
Also, did you see Lindsay Lohan's Christmas movie?
I did not.
You
No, I
did
did
not?
not. No.
Don't.
Oh,
It was-
okay then.
I don't know if you were expecting much, but this critic will say thumbs down. It was so hard to watch. Truly hard to watch. Yeah. All right,
Okay,
moving
Hour
on.
with Jonathan Sabri.
Yes, let's talk about New York's new tree, and
Yes.
we'll leave you with something happy.
Yeah, the start of the holiday season officially kicked off in New York on Wednesday. Take a look at that. Thousands, upwards of 50,000 LED lights lit up this year's Rockefeller Christmas tree. Now, thousands filled into the center to catch a glimpse of the ceremony. This year's Norway spruce is about 90 years old. It weighs 14 tons and traveled about 200 miles from Queensbury, New York. The trees have come a long way since the tradition started in 1931. The very first Rockefeller tree only stood 20 feet tall.
And that's going to do it for This Is Now. Don't forget that special report on the tainted water crisis 1 year later, coming up in just minutes on your H&N digital platforms.